let's say you're figure skating, you're entering this contest, and then one day you lose. And so you say, I quit. And I think she would say, no, you cannot quit on a losing note. If you win, if you do well, and then you decide, okay, that's fine, but you don't quit out of frustration and negativity. You gut it out.
Today we're here with Guy Kawasaki, the Chief Evangelist of Canva, an executive of the HAAS School of Business, and the creator of Guy Kawasaki's Remarkable People podcast. Guy was the Chief Evangelist of Apple and a trustee of the Wikimedia Foundation. He has written Wise Guy, The Art of the Start 2.0, The Art of Social Media, Enchantment, and 11 other books. How are you doing today, Guy?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm fine. We're getting ready for the weekend.
Can you share with us a little bit about your background?
Sure. So I'm from Honolulu, Hawaii. I left Hawaii to go to college in California. And at college, I met someone who eventually brought me into the Macintosh division of Apple. And in the Macintosh division of Apple, I was Apple's second software evangelist. So that started a career in tech. Started several companies, been a venture capitalist. I'm currently the chief evangelist of Canva, which is an online graphics design service. I am the host of a podcast called Remarkable People. And that's it. That's my life in 30 seconds.
Since 1987 up to now, you've written several books. Among those books, which one is your favorite and why?
Oh, it's never good to ask an author his favorite book or her favorite book, because that's like asking, do you have more than one child?
Yeah.
No, not you, Shyla.
Yeah,
Your dad.
yeah. We got two siblings. So you have two younger brothers.
Okay. So if I ask your dad, which is your favorite child, what's he going to say? Probably you, but no. So as an author, every book is kind of pouring your soul out onto a page, and I've done it 15 times. So probably most of my soul is gone already. It's all out. I will say, if you're an entrepreneur, probably the most useful book is The Art of the Start. If you are looking for wisdom in life, I would say Wise Guy. Those would be the two.
Awesome. I wrote them down. I got more things to add in the reading.
Yeah.
What are your top 3 principles to success?
I don't know if I have 3. Well, number 1 would be pursue your interests as opposed to your passions. So I think that many people have been misled about the concept of a passion, that it's going to be this obvious fall head over heels in love with something at first sight. So my recommendation is you pursue interests, and hopefully some of those interests become passions. A second thing is you just have to keep showing up. That much of life is keep showing up and keep doing it, whether you're feeling good, bad, indifferent, whether things are going good or bad. It's just grit. And the third thing is, don't underestimate the power of luck. Luck has a lot to do with success in life.
All right. This is where we turn it up and take these principles apart. Try to get some stories, get some how-tos around this. With pursue your interests and passion. Shyla, we have a motto or purpose that we talk about at home. You want to share what that is with Guy?
Find what you love to do and be the best in the world at it.
That's a good purpose in life. I would just give you a thought that it may not be instant love. It may, because when you start something new, very few people are instantly good. And a lot of people, if they're not instantly good at something, will give it up. And so don't get into the bind that when I find this right thing, I'll be instantly good at it and I'll just pursue it, to become the best in the world. I'll give you an example. So Christy Yamaguchi in her first competitive figure skating contest, finished 12th. So now she kept showing up, and that's why she became the Olympic gold medalist. But I don't know if, the arc of someone like that is you win every contest you entered from the time you're 5.
Yeah, I agree. I'm wondering if there was at least this aspiration to be the best that started early that drove a lot of that persistence to get
Yeah, that's interesting. Christy told me that she asked her mom, well, how come the other 3 people got ribbons and I didn't? And her mom said, well, because they finished first, second, and third. And so she decided she wanted a ribbon. Now, at that age, at who knows, 5 or 6, do you think she already was cognizant that I want to be the best figure skater in the world and win an Olympic gold medal, or she just wanted to be the best skater at the competitions in Fremont, California? I would probably say I don't know if she even knew what the Olympics was at that age, right? So I don't think that you have to have like world domination goals.
That's a really fair point. You can escalate your goals over time as they're achieved.
Yes.
Maybe you have one and then it leads to another, and you push yourself on a series of goals. So you don't necessarily need to have this direct aspiration to go top from the beginning.
If you ask a world champion anything, whether it's athletics or academics or business, and you say, so was this always your dream to create the first $1 trillion company? Was this always your dream to win Olympic gold? Was this always your dream to win a Pulitzer Prize? I bet many people would say yes, but I think a lot of that is sort of retroactive reasoning. I don't remember what my dream was at 5. Do you?
I agree. That's a great way to look at it. When you think of that person that is exploring or looking for passion, because you had a good point about it doesn't come right away. It can come through a series of experiences that get you there.
Yep.
Anything for somebody to stay motivated. I feel like I think of the undergrad college kids that they're in their senior year and they still haven't figured out what they want to graduate in or what direction they want to go in a career.
Well, if a college, let's put it this way, if a college senior, well, I guess you're saying picking their major, but even then I would say if a college senior doesn't exactly know what he or she wants to major in and do for the rest of their lives, I would say that's probably healthy. Now, if you are pre-med, obviously, from your senior year of high school, you have got to decide you're going to be a doctor, and that changes everything, right? You have to take these STEM classes, and then you have to go through residency and all that. But and I actually think there's a college in California where, as a freshman, you have to declare your major, right? And I just can't wrap my mind around that. How can a freshman decide this is my major? That at 18, there's no way. So anyway, I guess I'm telling you that, don't sweat it.
Okay, that's a fair point. So don't let it pressure you. Anything around actually discovering it? Maybe a pattern around trying different things, or?
Well, I think it's the law of big numbers that you have to try a lot of different things. You have to be open to things, and you need to have your eyes open. You could also make the case that, your goal should not be simply to make your parents happy. So, if your parent is a professional tennis player and he wants you or she wants you to become a professional tennis player at 5, not clear to me that's the best path. Now, of course, you hear the example of, Tiger Woods or Serena Williams or, something like that, where the father or mother was a professional athlete. Now the kids are prodigies and all that. But that's a handful of stories, right? And I would bet that for every one of those that pan out because of the parents' interest and parental pressure, that you only hear about the 1 in 2 million success stories. The other 1,999,999 burned out. And, So you only hear about the unicorns, but there's a lot of horses and donkeys too.
That is so true. I like that. Try different things and just go out and find the ones that you're really interested in.
Well, especially today, because someone graduating college today is probably going to hold 10 or 15 jobs. And,
Right.
and that might not have been true in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, right? You work for Procter and Gamble from college and you stay there the rest of your life. I mean, who does that anymore?
Nope. Totally different era. Tell me more about keep showing up. How do we make that into a practice?
Well, I'm not sure Shyla has figured that out yet because it took me about 60 years to figure that out. But, um, in a sense, when you pursue things that are interesting and very few people are instant successes, it requires keeping showing up, whether it's ice skating practice or math class or piano or whatever. If you look at life as a funnel, at the top of the funnel, there are, I don't know, millions of kids taking piano. At the bottom of the funnel, there's only hundreds professional piano players, right? And so what happened? How did we go from millions to hundreds? And a lot of people lost interest. A lot of people stopped showing up. And I'm not saying you have to show up no matter what, because there may be a point where you just say, this is not for me, which is okay. I interviewed someone in my podcast named Angela Duckworth, and she had a very interesting line of reasoning, which is she says that her kids can stop doing any of these interests whenever they want, with one requirement, that they have to quit on a success note. That is, let's take a figure skater. So let's say you're figure skating, you're entering this contest, and then one day you lose. And so you say, I quit. And I think she would say, no, you cannot quit on a losing note. If you win, if you do well, and then you decide, okay, that's fine, but you don't quit out of frustration and negativity. You gut it out.
I like that. It's a good way to get yourself in a mindset that you got to keep pushing yourself, just to leave it on a good note, right? You don't want to get down and then say, okay, this thing won over me. I think that's the key thing there, because you're right. When you looked at the funnel of success, it's only the ones that kept the persistence, the motivation to weather the ups and downs that ultimately make it to the top.
And I think it's also the case that often at the top of the funnel, you can spot people who have more talent or more experience or more something. There are clearly people who are better piano players instantly and better hockey players and better mathematicians and whatever, right? But then at the bottom of the funnel or the middle of the funnel, you'll see that, wow, some of the most talented, quote, naturals are no longer in the funnel. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not enough to just have talent. You also have to have dedication. And if you could pick, if somehow there was this magical artificial dichotomy where you could either have talent or grit, I tell you, pick grit.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Hey, Shyla, what do you think? We talk about when we talk about winning, like any thoughts or discussions, remember, that we talk about how to win?
Yeah, probably try your best. Like, try harder than anyone else.
We talked about mindset, like the burning desire to win. And we used this example of race because Shell's interest is running. And then just thinking, if you had one person on one side that was, hey, I'm going to try my best, but these people are really good. I'm not sure I'm going to win, but I'm going to try my best, versus another person that's taking more of a dedicated mindset of, under absolute no circumstance will I let anybody beat me. I'm going to make sure I'm going to win this. And it's just having this heightened level of desire. You parallel that with this higher end level of effort, which most of the time leads to the results that align with it. So that's where it's like you kind of got to charge yourself and push yourself to get in that motivated mindset with your goals and heighten that determination. I don't know if that's along the lines of.
I would argue that that's not as cut and dried a decision as possible. So let's say there are two mindsets. So one is you try your best. The other is you have to win, right?
Yeah.
Trying your best. If you ask me, I think trying your best is better than have to win, because the person who has to win, what happens if he or she doesn't win? Then what? Right? Because the odds are merely saying you have to win doesn't mean you're going to win. It just means, you think you have to win. So now you lose. So does that destroy you?
Well, I guess you have to have this is good because it's a short-term persistence versus long-term. Like, do you understand that's part of the process and you're going to iterate, and it is a long journey to get to that point of destination.
Well, I also think that, this kind of athletic metaphor quickly breaks down because most athletic metaphors are individuals, right? And life is a team sport. And it's also true that, to take extreme examples. So let's say that there are, 1,000 NBA players. I have no idea, but it's 1,000 or 500 or 2,000, but it's not 200,000, right? So if your path is to be a professional basketball player, you have to be one of 2,000 people who make a living that way. On the other hand, if you are a good programmer, there's probably 200,000 good programmers at Google alone. So which is the better path? That you have to win, the basketball MVP ship, or you're doing your best to become a great programmer? Not clear that it's, you have to win is the right attitude.
Yeah, that is an interesting contrast on that view. Was there any other perspective you would have when you think of keep showing up? Or examples, because I like the breakdown of there are situations where it's not pure competition, but still keeping that motivation so it's not you hit this slump or something that throws you out.
In a perfect world, maybe not in a perfect world, but in a real world, I think you should just make it a habit. So you're not, every time you show up, you should not be questioning yourself, should I show up or not? It should just be a habit. And, maybe this is not a good example, but I don't think every morning you make a decision to brush your teeth. It's a habit. I hope anyway. So I think the same thing can be said of showing up, that, you're going to do this, and it's not a decision every day.
That's, I think of it as building a real discipline where you're getting comfortable doing something you're uncomfortable doing. Then you
when you are comfortable and even go beyond comfortable, but you love doing something you're uncomfortable doing, then you may have found your passion.
That's true too.
Right. So I'll give you an example in my life. I have to go back to athletics, though, which again is not necessarily the right metaphor. But I took up surfing 6 years ago, and I would say I'm an intermediate surfer after 6 years because I took up surfing 55 years too late. Now, I am not a good surfer, but I keep surfing every day. So if I had decided on keeping on surfing after my first session, for sure, I would have given up. Right. So you have to push through the incompetence and the difficulty. That's when you're onto something.
Yeah. That's a real motivation because you have a passion for what you're doing.
Yep.
What does lucky mean to you? Like, what do you mean by that?
Well, lucky, first of all, it's kind of strange to say, okay, one strategy or tactic is to be lucky, because that's not exactly actionable. The logical question is, well, how do you get lucky? Well, one thing is to repeat a point is, if you don't keep showing up, you're not going to get lucky because you won't even be in the game. So step one with being lucky is showing up. Duh. And then I think it's just seeing opportunities where other people may not, and trying stuff, constantly trying stuff, not waiting for the perfect world. And if you wait for the perfect world, there's a saying that you have to stand by the side of a river a long time before the roast duck will fly into your mouth. So if your strategy is to stand by the river, roast ducks are not going to fly in your mouth. You got to go find the duck.
Yeah, I agree. That's that makes a lot of sense, because if you think of the probabilities, you're putting them in your favor. Just
Yes.
the more chances you give yourself by showing up. But that's basically what you got to do, is keep at it and increase your odds. And I think if you look at a lot of the great success, it does go back to that. They had some big break. You don't know at what point you'll get it. You may
Right.
not, but at least you increase your probability if you persist on things.
Well, you definitely are not going to get a big break if you're not in the game.
Exactly. So staying in that, I ran a business, the tech company I run. I had 7 years of negative returns, and the last 2 or 3 have been positive. And I get asked often, like the success driver, how it came through, because it was negative for so long. But I remember the one thing I read, the number one reason for startup failures was giving up. So it was the whole thing. It's just, as long as you don't give up, we'll be fine. And kept pushing.
Yeah, you're still in the game.
Yep. And then things pick up in the right direction. You finally get all these puzzle pieces, both visible and invisible in a tech company, and get them to align and things work well. But absolutely.
As someone who is influential, how do you deal with criticisms?
Well, I have dealt with a lot of criticism, and everybody who is as old as 67 has dealt with a lot of criticism. So at this stage, I just have come to believe that it's part of the game, and you should never let someone's opinion of you shape your reality, nor shape your dreams. Now, not all criticism is negative. Some criticism is given with a good spirit and trying to make you better. If somebody tells you, what's wrong with your design, or what's wrong with what you're doing, so it's constructive, you should take that as much as you can. The negative criticism, which is just, sort of sadistic, wanting to pound you into the ground, you need to learn to ignore that. And that, don't let other people shape your personality.
I like it. There's good criticism and bad criticism. Do you ever welcome the good criticism?
Oh yeah. For example, when I write a book, I send the draft to a couple thousand people, and I'm looking for grammatical mistakes, content mistakes, leaps of faith, whatever. I love the editing and fixing process. And not all of that is positive, obviously. In fact, by definition, if they're telling you something's wrong, it's not necessarily positive, but it is constructive.
I like that. That's a fair point. To welcome it. I'm surprised you get that much feedback. I was thinking, reflecting on the first book I wrote, where going through the editing process made me not want to write anymore.
Was there a mistake that you thought would end up being good but ended up turning bad? Like something that you thought would work out but didn't?
Well, every company that I started fit that description. Shyla, I think a more interesting question is there something that you thought was a big mistake and bad that you come to find out maybe wasn't so bad and in fact was good. So I thought of one of those. And when I graduated from college, and to make my parents happy, I went to law school. And after 2 weeks, I quit law school. And at the time, I thought that was a tragedy, that I did, just the most horrible, whatever thing for the honor of my family, really. And come to find out, that was one of the better things I've ever done. I'm so happy I quit law school. I did. I don't want to be a lawyer. I didn't want then, and I don't want it now. So sometimes, and I bet a lot of people thought I was making a mistake. I had gotten into law school. This path was laid out in front of me, and I just kind of threw it all away.
And you didn't turn out so bad.
No, yeah, I've overcome that.
What advice would you give to the next generation of leaders?
Oh, I think for the next generation of leaders, first of all, take the high road. The high road being giving people the benefit of the doubt, defaulting to yes, appreciating diversity, those kinds of things. Second piece of advice is never ask people to do something that you wouldn't do. So if you wouldn't do something, don't expect other people to do it. And the third thing is to develop empathy. Empathy meaning that you can relate to what they're going through. You can understand where they're coming from. And if a leader just did 3 things like that, maybe just even 2 of those 3, they would stand above the crowd.
My favorite of the 3 was empathy. That's one I'm really big on, that I think made a big difference when it comes to leadership. And to me, I like to think of it as oftentimes we enter these meetings or meetings with people, and you have an agenda or what you're trying to get out of it. Mm-hmm. But if you can put that all to the side and really get in that mindset where whatever is wrong or that nothing, just to get that subject matter biases out of there too. Really intently listen and understand what the person is thinking, how they feel, why they feel that way, understand what their goals are, what are they trying to overcome, and focus on aligning yourself to help support that. I think that really spending that time to understand that person first makes the big difference. And that, it took me a while to learn that.
Well, I think that is maybe the most important part of marketing is empathy.
That's true, because when it lands people, they want to connect with people that gets a sense of how they feel.
Yep.
They want to feel felt, and if the marketing makes them feel felt, they'll engage with it.
Yep.
This has been great. I feel like we got a master class.
Well, okay. So you all have a good weekend.
Is there anywhere that anyone could follow you?
Well, there are so many ways to follow me. It's ridiculous. My best work is my podcast, and that's at remarkablepeople.com. And if you want to learn more about me, well, we all know how to use Google. Just type Guy Kawasaki into Google. You'll find more about me than you want to. But if you want to see my best work, it's at remarkablepeople.com. Basically, with my podcast, I am on a mission to make people remarkable.
That's awesome, Guy. I appreciate taking the time.
All righty. Have a great weekend.
Bye.